Hi everyone. Have you ever wondered what happened to Noah after the flood? The man who built an ark and saved humanity from destruction? Well, buckle up because the story of Noah doesn't end when the waters recede. In fact, it takes an unexpected turn that reminds us that even the greatest heroes have their flaws. Let's set the scene. The flood has ended, and Noah, his family, and all the animals have disembarked from the ark. The world is a blank slate, washed clean by the waters of judgment. God makes a covenant with Noah, promising never to destroy the earth by flood again. The rainbow becomes a symbol of this promise. It's a time of new beginnings, hope, and gratitude. Noah, remember, was chosen by God for his righteousness. Genesis 6:9 tells us, Noah was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. This was no ordinary man. He stood out in a world so corrupt that God decided to start over. Noah's faith and obedience saved humanity. He's a hero of biblical proportions. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Genesis 9:20-21 says, Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk and lay uncovered in his tent. Wait, what? Noah, the righteous man, the one who walked with God, got drunk and passed out naked in his tent? It's a shocking moment, isn't it? Let's pause and consider what's happening here. Noah, who's just been through an incredible, world-altering experience, plants a vineyard. It's a sign of settling down, of returning to normal life. But then he overindulges in the fruit of his labor. The text doesn't tell us why. Was it celebration, stress relief, or simply a lack of experience with wine's effects? Whatever the reason, we see a very human side of this great biblical figure. This incident teaches us an important lesson. No one, not even the most righteous among us, is immune to temptation or error. The Bible doesn't shy away from showing the flaws of its heroes. From Adam and Eve to David to Peter, we see time and again that being chosen by God doesn't make someone perfect. But the story doesn't end with Noah's drunkenness. What happens next is equally important. Genesis 9:22-23 continues, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. This part of the story reveals much about character. Ham sees his father's shame and gossips about it. He disrespects Noah, exposing him further by telling others. But Shem and Japheth choose a different path. They protect their father's dignity, carefully covering him without looking. Their actions show respect and honor, even when their father has faltered. When Noah wakes up and learns what happened, he pronounces a curse on Canaan, Ham's son, and blessings on Shem and Japheth. This reaction has been the subject of much debate and interpretation throughout history. Some see it as an explanation for future tribal relations, others as a lesson in the importance of filial respect. But let's focus on what this story tells us about human nature and our spiritual journey. First, it reminds us that temptation doesn't disappear once we've achieved something great for God. In fact, sometimes our greatest vulnerabilities come after our biggest victories. Noah had just saved humanity, yet he fell into this compromising situation. It's a powerful reminder to stay vigilant, no matter how far we've come in our spiritual walk. Secondly, this story teaches us about the nature of sin and its consequences. Noah's private act of drunkenness led to public shame and had repercussions for his family. It's a stark reminder that our actions, even those we think are private, can have far-reaching effects. Thirdly, we learn about the importance of how we respond to others' failings. Ham's response of exposure and mockery contrasts sharply with Shem and Japheth's response of protection and respect. When we see others stumble, do we expose and judge, or do we seek to restore with gentleness and respect? Fourthly, this story reminds us of the complexity of human nature. Noah was righteous, yet he stumbled. He was great, yet flawed. This is true for all of us. We're capable of tremendous faith and obedience, and also of weakness and sin. Recognizing this can help us be more compassionate towards others and more vigilant in our own lives. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, this story points us to our need for grace. Noah, despite this incident, is still listed in Hebrews 11 as a hero of faith. His righteousness wasn't based on perfect behavior, but on his faith in God. This foreshadows the greater truth of the gospel, that our righteousness comes not from our own perfection, but from faith in Christ. So what can we take away from the story of Noah's post-flood stumble? First, let's remember that no one is above temptation. We need to stay vigilant and humble, recognizing our ongoing need for God's grace and strength. Second, let's be mindful of how we respond to others' failings. Are we quick to expose and judge, or do we seek to restore with gentleness and respect? Third, let's remember that God uses imperfect people. Our failings don't disqualify us from being used by God if we continue to walk in faith. Noah's story didn't end with his drunkenness. He lived for 350 years after the flood, undoubtedly continuing to walk with God. His moment of weakness didn't define him, just as our moments of weakness don't define us if we continue to trust in God's grace. As we close this exploration of Noah's post-flood stumble, let's remember that the Bible's heroes are not perfect people, but people who trusted in a perfect God. Their stories, including their failings, are recorded not to discourage us, but to encourage us. They remind us that God's grace is sufficient, that his power is made perfect in weakness, and that he can use imperfect people to accomplish his perfect will. So the next time you feel discouraged by your own failings or judgmental towards others, remember Noah. Remember that heroes have flaws too, and that God's grace is greater than our weaknesses. Keep walking with God, stay vigilant against temptation, and trust in his unfailing love and mercy. After all, that's what true righteousness is all about. Thank you for watching.